Hey, what's up YouTube? My name's Josh, and for the last few weeks I've been putting some serious hours into Sunbreak, about 80 hours to be exact, bringing my total playtime on Rise up to 230 hours. I know for games like Monster Hunter that would be considered rookie numbers, but I've seen enough of the game where I can form a genuine opinion, and as you can guess from the title of the video, we're going to be going over Sunbreak's problems. Now don't get me wrong, Rise and its DLC Sunbreak aren't bad. If it was, I wouldn't have even gotten past the 20-hour mark, let alone the 200-hour mark, but comparing it to previous Monster Hunter games, it falls short of what it should. And with Wild Hearts moving in and trying to take some territory in the genre, there's no better time to voice my complaints than right now. When I first started Sunbreak, I was having a lot of fun, being greeted right off the bat with a new beautiful village, a new forest map that's hands down my favorite map in all of Rise now, and also seeing a familiar monster I haven't seen since Freedom Unite. And after hunting all the different monsters Master Rank 1-star had to offer, I was surprised by just how powerful some of these armor pieces were when it came to stats. Almost right out the gate I was able to make a solid mix set to complement my weapon, and this set a really good first impression for me. I had really high hopes, but little did I know after this point I wouldn't be seeing a solid upgrade to my armor for a good 20 plus hours. But that's all in hindsight. The first problem I had was when I sent out a join request after my friends decided to call it a night. No one joined. I thought it might just be a lack of players on PC, so I checked out the Steam charts. 17,000 concurrent players. That should be more than enough players, but oh yeah, the game's region locked. That combined with the game not being cross-platform, I thought at first I found my issue. Until I unlocked Investigations 30-ish hours into the DLC, and what do you know, other players started joining instantly. This is the biggest problem for new players like me trying to get into Sunbreak. Most of the fun in Monster Hunter comes from the experience you have with other players. I remember one of the only games I enjoyed playing back on the Wii was Monster Hunter Tri, because it was one of the only true multiplayer experiences you could find on the whole console. It kept me playing for thousands of hours as a kid. I mean shit, you could even hook up a keyboard to type instead of using a controller, and I'd like to say that contributed a lot to the typing skills I have today, and that experience I had right at the start of my Monster Hunter 3 journey, years after the game was released on the Wii. We aren't even a year into Sunbreak's release on PC, and newer players like me are already having issues finding players to fill up a hunt, and that's all thanks to the investigation mechanic they added in for the endgame. The sad part is, these investigations aren't anything special. It's a repeat of the same monsters you've been fighting up to this point, but now they have glowing spots you have to destroy before the monster explodes. It really isn't anything special, so as you kill more and more of these monsters, your investigation level goes up, ever so slowly, making the monster just a bit harder than last time. For finishing hunts, you're rewarded with exclusive materials needed to level up most of the weapons in the game, and this part really takes no time at all. Fully upgrading a weapon is fast and easy, but what really keeps people doing investigations is fully upgrading your fully upgraded weapons and armor through the new Querious upgrade mechanic. So let me just explain. Whenever you fully upgrade a weapon or make a set of armor, you use monster parts exclusive to different monsters at different investigation levels to give it a minor upgrade. An example of this is increasing an armor's decoration slot or giving a weapon a bit more damage, and this is where I start feeling like the game is wasting my time. I checked what the requirements were for me to fully upgrade my already fully upgraded weapon, and I needed a part that only dropped from a specific monster after you reach level 120, and your levels and investigations are completely separated from your master rank level, and it takes a lot of time to get it up to that point. It also takes quite a bit of resources to upgrade your weapon to have the slots to equip this final level upgrade in the first place, and keep in mind this is just to upgrade one weapon. You also have to worry about doing this for your 5 different armor pieces. If you're like me and you enjoy using half the weapons the game has to offer, then you're going to be at a disadvantage versus someone who just sticks with one weapon and that's that. And this really sucks because I don't think Monster Hunter is the type of game that needs artificial levels of grind like this. This is because in a game like Monster Hunter, whenever you beat the game, you can go make a bunch of different builds for that one specific weapon. And whenever you get bored of that, you can go back and experiment and make builds for all the other weapon types. And with just how complex the combat system is in Monster Hunter nowadays, that alone is something that can take thousands of hours, just mastering the playstyle of the different weapons. So the whole Quirius upgrade system and investigations as a whole do nothing more than discourage experimentation and segregate the community for some artificial grind that never even needed to exist in the first place. I understand you don't want the highest level players playing with brand new recruits, because they would probably just wipe the floor with the early game monsters, but it doesn't really help when you've implemented a multiplayer system that revolves around quickly joining into other players' quests right in the middle of them. It used to be you could only join a hunt through a lobby, and that lobby would have information on it for what the host was trying to do, like maybe a certain master rank level or a specific monster, and if you departed out on a quest, that was that. No one would be able to hop right in and join you. This, in my opinion, was a lot more personal, as you met a lot of hunters that had the same interests as you. People could communicate before quests, and you could meet new friends you could go through long sessions of the game with. Lobbies are still available to this day, but I never see a lobby open for something I'm trying to do. Everyone just joins quick matches. I got a bit off topic though, so let me finish my thoughts on investigations. Just like the grinding lands from Monster Hunter World, the game doesn't need this extra built-in grind mechanic that only serves to pad out the endgame. Nothing's wrong with having a good 40-hour game and leaving it at that, especially a game that has so many weapons and advanced combat mechanics that genuinely take thousands of hours to master. If anything, they should have just listened to the people's complaints in Rise and made the expansion harder. Lack of difficulty is something this game suffers from when you compare it to older games. There's a couple of hard fights, like Flaming Espina here for example. At any time when it's enraged, it can just decide to blow up on you, resulting in instant death. So if you aren't cautious about your positioning or over-dedicate to an attack, you aren't going to have time to run away or even sheath your weapon and jump. This means you need to stay focused. Also, if you go in without poison resistance, you're going to get poisoned from almost every attack it has. If you use your wire bug carelessly, like you've probably been doing throughout the whole game, you're going to get punished hard with fast combos from the monster. Also, as the fight progresses, the monster can mix up its ultimate attack, walking towards you before blowing up, and even later than that, following up that attack with another extremely powerful attack. This is the type of challenge I loved overcoming from those older Monster Hunter games. The monster has all the advantage, and your primary focus is survival, not finishing your combo and trying to whack that 1000 damage number. And on the topic of monsters, where are all the raid bosses? The final boss of Sunbreak is nothing more than a wannabe Safajiva from World, and you're telling me that's all we get? Zora Magnaros didn't even make it into Sunbreak. Every other monster from base Rise made it in, but not the actual fun raid boss. Also, I'd hate to admit it, but there's way too many monsters in this game. I mean, you think it would be the more the merrier, but so many monsters just turn into dead content right after you beat them, mainly because of how shit their armor and weapons are compared to others that do the exact same thing. I understand sometimes you want, let's just say, a fire weapon that does more base damage, or one that does more elemental, or possibly one that has more affinity, but there's no way you can justify 9 different longswords that all have the same exact element. One thing they could have easily done is excluded some of the different monsters' weapons from different weapon trees. This would have made certain elemental weapons at least feel unique in a way for their specific weapon type. And let's all just be honest here, with how easy the game is, you don't even need to use elemental weapons anyway. I've made it through the whole DLC without them, and it's just funny seeing all these different elemental weapons that I'll probably never make. It's all just dead content. Something else to laugh at is the defender weapons they added in for Sunbreak. They're powerful weapons they put into low and high rank that are extremely easy to craft. These were added with the release of Sunbreak for the sole purpose of getting players through to master rank difficulty as soon as possible. This hasn't really been a thing in the past, since before World, master rank, better known as G rank, has always come packaged in with the game on release. It wasn't sold down the line as DLC. DLC, and I'm perfectly fine with paying for a G rank DLC as long as it's good and has enough content. I mean, I understand the price of video games hasn't gone up in like tens of years, and you know, these companies need their money, but compromising the experience of the base game just so that people can speedrun their way to the new master rank content is something I don't really agree with. The funny part is, as much as they want people speedrunning to the new content, they still require you to go back to upgrade certain weapons and craft the majority of the game's decorations. For example, if you want to make Nargacuga master rank weapons, you have to start from the lower rank weapons instead of flat out crafting it in the expansion alone. Also, decorations are a huge factor in making builds, so unless you're like me and already spent tons of hours in the base game grinding these decorations, expect to go back through the content the game desperately wanted you to avoid in the first place. Moving on, let's talk about the melding pot. In Rise and Sunbreak, you can sacrifice your monster parts for the chance at talismans. These talismans are equipped in their own armor slot and grant different skill bonuses, some being useful and some being worthless. Getting something good was rare and took a lot of resources. Those resources you would also need to sell to upgrade your armor sets. Finding a good skill you can actually get some use out of is extremely rare. That is, until you get about 30 hours into the DLC, when they just flat out let you meld whatever skill you want for a talisman. Now, this is ultimately good. It eliminates almost all the RNG when it comes to making talismans, but this is 30 hours into Sunbreak. I was lucky enough to have good enough talismans from my days grinding the base game, but I can't even describe how pissed off I would be if I spent my whole time grinding through master rank, wasting all my materials, just to find out I'd be able to straight up pick exactly what I wanted. Resources are very important in this game. Instead of grinding for monster parts to make weapons and armor, you're grinding parts to sell so you can upgrade that armor. And even if you save up all the money you get from completing quests, you still won't be able to fully upgrade without selling monster parts. This is one of the biggest issues I have with all of Rise in general, but when you also need those monster parts to smelt decorations and you've been wasting them on smelting decorations, and then unlock something like the ability to just choose which one you want, all I gotta say is it adds insult to injury if you decided to smelt talismans before unlocking this. And once again, this is something you unlock 30 hours in. And my last complaint is the Anomaly Research Lab. You unlock this soon after beating the final but not so final boss. If you do investigations for the monsters he has bounties on, you'll eventually earn up enough points to buy yourself something like a gem or a mantle. These parts are rare, and sometimes you can just go dry and knock it apart for like 15-20 kills. So having this is nice, but it takes more effort than it's worth. With all the time you have to put in hunting monsters you don't want to hunt, you could just grind that drop yourself. I think this whole feature would have been better utilized if the currency needed was gotten through helping hunters with random quests. It would have at least given people a reason to help other players that aren't doing investigations. Although I still don't think this would be enough incentive, because investigations are kind of what the endgame grind is all about. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to want to do the investigation so you can upgrade your weapon, even if it's something minuscule like a few points of damage. So yeah, Sunbreak, in my opinion, under-delivered. For the $40, I really can't suggest anyone pick it up, unless you have a group of buddies to play with and don't take it too seriously. The biggest problem with Sunbreak is the grindy endgame that you would expect out of an MMO, and the fact the multiplayer is dead up until around the 30-hour mark. I mean, if you enjoyed Rise, then you'll most likely enjoy Sunbreak here. It just doesn't do anything to fix the game's problems. But if you want another video like this, smash the like button and leave a comment. I still have more to complain about, but those complaints are a little bit broader than the scope of this video. This was more just focused on the Sunbreak expansion. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.